The doctor had less than a moment to act, and so he dove through the air, knocking Vellen to the floor as Lexel's shot burnt a hole in the chair. Lexel cursed as he advanced on his 2 targets, now even more vulnerable. "No, wait!" cried the doctor, as Lexel recharged the blaster, ready to fire again. But it was Vellen who was next to act, plucking fearsome images from Lexel's mind to distract him for long enough that the doctor was able to wrestle the blaster from their attacker and throw it out of the broken window. Lexel didn't seem to want to give up that easily, and grabbed the doctor, throwing him into a table that crumpled underneath him. Gasping for breath, the doctor got back up and rushed Lexel as he tried to strangle Vellen. And for the second time in that apartment, he leapt through the air to rugby tackle the assailant. The two came crashing into a bookcase. A rather dizzy doctor stood up and checked Lexel's pulse. Unconscious, but alive. "We need to move. Someone must have heard all of that." The doctor and Vellen made their way out of the apartment, but as soon as they were in the hallway, they were spotted by one of the angry mob breaking into Vellen's home. A loud yell of "Out here!" was followed by a clamouring of footsteps as the mob closed in on their quarry. "When I say run," the doctor began, but Vellen was already sprinting for the elevator. The doctor caught up with him, and the doors closed in the nick of time, saving them from a painful end. The elevator started to ferry them downwards. "You said something about a ship?" "It's up there, in your neighbour's apartment." The doctor was still pretty breathless from the exertion. "We'd have to battle our way through all the torches and pitchforks to get to it." "In a few seconds, those doors will open, and we'll be totally exposed." Vellen was trying his best not to panic. "I have an idea, but you won't like it," the doctor said. "Anything has to be better than aimlessly roaming the streets." "Okay then." The doors pinged as they reached the ground floor. "It's time I met the Shogun's daughter." There were very few options available to them, and since Vellen didn't own a hovercar himself, their only choice to travel at speed was to borrow someone else's. Vellen had reservations about this. Was theft really going to help his case? But, the doctor reasoned, being killed by a stranger on the street would definitely do more damage to his long-term prospects. Vellen acquiesced and led the way to the nearest parking structure. He felt mildly protected by his hood, but was constantly aware of the vibrancy of the doctor's attire and the boldness of his stride. There was no way a man like that would go unnoticed. "Can't you, I don't know, be less obvious?" Vellen hissed as they turned down another busy street. "What?" The doctor didn't look at Vellen, didn't draw any attention to his fugitive friend. "What's wrong with what I'm wearing? You stick out. Quite a lot." "Perhaps, but I assumed you'd prefer everyone to look at the enigmatic stranger than, oh I don't know, the guy whose face is literally everywhere." As he spoke, they passed small posters on the walls, each depicting a product or event, but with Vellen's face in the corner. Then the window of a cafe, with Vellen's face at the side of the menu. And into the shadow of a giant billboard for an upcoming holo game, with Vellen's face yet again plastered all over it. "Also, this planet has way too many TV screens. Don't you know they make your eyes square? Which is a bigger issue for you than a lot of other species." Since all of the vehicles in Zirkonnos Prime levitated through the air, the whole city was pedestrianised, which had made their furtive trek from Vellen's apartment much safer. Until they paused within eyeshot of the parking structure. "What is it?" the doctor asked. Vellen simply pointed. There were 2 Zirkonnen with deep blue helmets stood on the other side of the street. In their hands were heavy-duty blasters. The doctor assumed they were police, or whatever passed for law enforcement here under the Shogun's rule. "Leave them to me." The doctor was already closing the distance before Vellen could respond. Vellen watched as the doctor tried to convince the 2 officers of something, but he couldn't hear what exactly. There was a lot of exaggerated hand gestures, which looked particularly wild with the doctor's long coat flapping behind him. It took Vellen slightly too long to realise that the doctor was trying to communicate with him in code. And so, with the officers caught up in whatever tall tale the doctor was weaving for them, Vellen slunk past, head down, and into the parking structure. "Now you have a good day," the doctor yelled theatrically as he ducked inside. Gosh, they were boring. He scanned the shadows until he found Vellen. "Alright, which of these hovercars do you reckon will be best?" They walked along one aisle of parked vehicles until they both instinctively stopped, but looking at different hovercars. Vellen having opted for something innocuous, a beige family-sized hatchback that no one would look twice at, whereas the doctor had chosen something flashier, reminiscent of a Formula 1 race car. They looked at the other's choice and started a whispered argument about why their hovercar was best, when someone entered the parking structure and both the doctor and Vellen fell silent, and the fugitive dropped to the floor to hide. but that wasn't enough, and the figure pointed in their direction, speaking into their comms device. "No point flying under the radar now." The doctor aimed his sonic screwdriver at the sports hovercar, and the doors unlocked with a click. He hoisted Vellen up, and they got into the vehicle as the observer approached at speed. "Do you know how to fly one of these things?" the doctor asked, but since he was in the driving seat, he didn't have many options. He pressed the control button seemingly at random until the engine fired up and they lifted into the air. Leaning into the steering wheel, the doctor took off, narrowly avoiding the yelling figure. "You don't think they'll chase us, do you?" As the hovercar crashed through the exit barrier and out into the car lanes above the city, Vellen looked through the rear window and saw that they were being followed. "You had to say it, didn't you?" The doctor rolled his eyes and upped the acceleration as they ascended. "Can you program a course to the Shogun's castle, domain, residence, whatever pompous word he uses? If I take one hand off this wheel, who knows where we'll end up?" Vellen did as instructed, though he kept casting glances back at their pursuer. His fourth eye showed him their hovercar being rammed, upside down, careening off into a building, and each time he looked back at the doctor's haphazard driving, that future seemed increasingly likely. There's the royal court." The doctor glanced at the map and, realising they were going the completely wrong way, yanked on the steering wheel. The front of the hovercar pivoted up at a distressing angle, and they were soon tilting until they were upside down. "Whoa!" they both screamed as the doctor wrangled for control. He turned the wheel this way and that until the hovercar had righted itself and they were facing the right way, though Vellen was left bruised by the experience. The doctor's dangerous stunt had managed to shake off their pursuer, but there was a fresh problem. In front of them was an enforcement hover van. The police had spotted his dangerous driving, or been suspicious of his street-side antics, and they were blocking the path. A musician played some sort of piped instrument. The sound echoed around the large hall. It sounded beautiful, and each echo more luscious than the last. Yet somehow it still bored the Shogun's daughter. She had ordered the best Zirkonnos musician to distract her while she awaited her news. This poor young thing had been blessed with the mark of the sound, and on any other day it would have wowed her to the point of marriage. But the very thought reminded her of Vellen and his tremendously rude refusal. How dare he deny her immensely kind offer? With a wave of her hand, the Shogun's daughter dismissed the musician, who hobbled off desperately, hoping they weren't about to be executed for disappointing her. She brought up the hollow screens once more and surveyed the city until she honed in on a police report of a strange off-worlder. This, at least, would be amusing. But as she zoomed in on the live footage of the incident, she spotted a familiar face sat next to this alien. It was Vellen. She placed the Zirkonnos crown on her head and instantly tapped into the enforcement network. She transmitted her command. "Stop that vehicle!" "What do we do?" Vellen yelled. The doctor was initially tentative, veering left, only to be matched by the hover van, then down, and was copied again. This would be a more tenacious pursuer. "Can we turn around? Not upside down this time, though." "There's no way we'll outrun them if we go the wrong way." The doctor pointed beyond the hover van. "You can just about see the royal court if you squint. That's our only hope." "Do they have guns?" he asked, eyes on the sky in front of them. Vellen didn't understand. "The police in their hover van, do they have any weapons? Can they shoot us down?" Vellen shook his head, then out loud. "No, I don't think so." "Bit of a gamble then?" The doctor worked the gear stick, frustrated that they were already in the highest. "Ugh, this hovercar could do with a few more speeds for moments like this. Though that gives me an idea. Vellen, do you trust me?" "No." The doctor laughed. "Well, that's taken the wind out of my sails. But we really don't have the luxury for alternatives. So unless you can come up with a better plan right this second, I'm doing this." "Doing what?" Vellen asked. But as he looked through the windshield, it became rather clear. Both vehicles were hurtling towards each other at speed, and neither driver was going to back off. Vellen braced himself against the dashboard as the doctor's eyes widened, hundreds of calculations racing through his mind. For Vellen, it felt like time slowed in the milliseconds before impact. His first eye showed him the backdrop of the bright sky, the rush of the hover van in their direction, and the flashing light atop it that endangered them. His second eye processed the contours of the doctor's determined face against the empty sky beyond, the pink fluffy dice hanging on the rear view mirror against the fierce blue of the approaching hover van. His third eye understood the doctor wasn't going to back down from the way he set his jaw, the briefest flicker of fear in his eyes as the distance between vehicles dropped to near nothing. His fourth eye showed him the most probable end result of the collision. The hover van would survive a direct impact, but the hover car would crumple, their bodies be crushed, and then fall miles down to the city below. It would be a disastrous death. "I'm sorry, my love," Vellen whispered. The doctor steeled himself. "And go!" He rammed the gear stick backwards, putting the car into reverse, but the extreme forward momentum, coupled with the jolt of the shifting hover thrusters, caused the vehicle to jolt violently. Vellen felt his teeth vibrate, his metal clothes clatter. The doctor struggled against the hovercar's systems to force it back into top gear as he restarted the engine after it misfired, jamming his sonic screwdriver into the ignition port. It let off a distressing whir as the hover thrusters emitted a splutter of worrisome power, bouncing the hovercar up and over the oncoming police. The pulses from the hover thrusters crashed into the law enforcement chassis, buckling it once, twice, 3 times as the hovercar jostled forwards and away. Vellen finally breathed. "Thank goodness that worked," the doctor exhaled. He looked over to his rather confused passenger. "You understand how hovercars work, right? The basics of pulse emission? That's how they float?" I tried to push an enormous amount of energy through a small aperture when I put it in reverse without slowing down, then opened her up again, and that made the thrusters splutter with excess charge, hensing the bouncing. No? None of that land for you? One of these days I'm going to have to reform the education system on every planet. On the downside, I did overload my sonic screwdriver just a smidgen, so that'll be out of action until I repair it, but hey-ho, life's all about taking risks. Vellen didn't know what to say. His heart was beating too fast. He couldn't cope with nearly dying this often. He needed to rest, but the doctor was taking him to the very person who had ordered his death. This wasn't a good idea, was it? Those police won't be following us before you start worrying. An unfortunate side effect of me nearly destroying our engine to escape is that I actually nearly destroyed their engine, so they'll need to land before they crash. And what about us? Vellen was still shaking, the adrenaline still coursing through him. We'll make it to the royal court. Probably. Hopefully. Then we can have a nice chat with the Shogun's daughter and get this all straightened out. The doctor smiled reassuringly, but after the game of chicken they had just played, Vellen didn't feel it. The Shogun's daughter? We can't keep calling her that. She must have a name. You know what it is? The doctor turned to Vellen when he didn't answer. Vellen? Any ideas? He shook his head. Keep your eyes on the sky. The doctor thought it best to land the hovercar by the staff entrance, then snuck inside on his own for reconnaissance. Vellen didn't like being left behind, sat in the conspicuously flashy hovercar, but given they were about to walk into the most heavily guarded part of the Shogun's domain, any extra foreknowledge would be useful. Each minute that passed felt 100 times as long, and Vellen jumped in his skin when there was a sudden knock on the window. It was the doctor, grinning like a maniac. "We have 2 options, the doctor said. Option 1, he lifted his left hand as if weighing it up, is we put you in a disguise and try to sneak you past 4 layers of security to get to the Shogun's daughter. Honestly, not convinced there are any disguises good enough, unless you have a latent ability to regenerate that you haven't told me about. No. Option 2, he lifted his right hand to counter it, is a lot of air ducts. Pros, you won't be seen. Cons, the air is chemically treated to give it the scent of rose blossom every 10 minutes, and that would ruin our lungs. We'd die in the ducting and never be discovered because the scent of decay would be masked by perfume." The doctor raised and lowered each hand. Both options seemed risky. "How much ducting would we have to crawl through?" Vellen asked. "And would it be a quick death if it went wrong?" The doctor mimed, doing calculations. "I haven't tested out my top speed at crawling yet, but at a very rough guess I'd say about 10 minutes worth. It isn't a direct system, it bends all around, and the royal court is big, huge even. And yes, quick, but rather horrid. At least that's better than torture. Well, Vellen, it's your choice. If you want me to paint a fake moustache on you, let's do it. Or if you'd prefer to race the scent of death, let's go for it." Vellen was surprised. The doctor was genuinely offering him the choice, and he didn't doubt that this strange alien would stand by him and face whichever death came their way. Because Vellen's fourth eye was showing him so many versions of it. Impaled on a guard's spear, or beaten to a pulp by a gang of them, or the doctor getting them lost in the ducting, or his face contorted in agony as he choked, or blast of fire cutting through his chest, or this or that or anything else. Vellen shut his eyes and took a moment. When he opened them, the doctor was quite close to his face. "I don't mean to hurry you, but you are a wanted fugitive and we aren't exactly in the best hiding place right now." "The ducting," Vellen decided. "Fingers crossed we're fast enough." The ducting was more cramped than Vellen had expected, but they set a solid pace from the start. The doctor had started a timer on a rather fabulous pocket watch as they turned right, then left, following a map that the doctor had memorised. I had a quick look through their internal systems. Surprisingly easy to hack in, even without my screwdriver. "Turn right here." They turned, with Vellen following. You'd be amazed what I found out. Where all the money goes, all the big secrets, some proper juicy stuff. None of my business, of course. The Shogun will get his due without my interference. Next left. The air still smelled faintly of rose blossom, which Vellen found rather distracting. Would that be their fate? For the last thing they smelled to be so delightful? As they took the next left, Vellen bumped into the doctor. "What's the hold-up?" "This," the doctor said without a hint of worry in his voice, "is a dead end. We've made a wrong turn." In my defence, I didn't have long to study the map.
"So what do we do?"
Vellen demanded, his voice echoing through the ducting. "Go back, take the other left." Vellen did as instructed, now taking the lead, but he kept calling out for time checks. 4 minutes left, then 3, then 2.5. He soon stopped trusting the doctor, thinking he was being generous with how many seconds of life was left to keep morale up.
"We're not going to make it,"
Vellen muttered under his breath. 2 more turns, the doctor called out. Right. Then shove the grill with all your might. Oh, I'm a poet.
"Not now."
Vellen crawled like his life depended on it, feeling such relief when he reached the grill. The doctor hurried up behind him, the pocket watch in his hand. "We've got seconds, Vellen. The grill, if you please." The first push did nothing. His heart rate was climbing rapidly. The second push rattled it, but little else. "Vellen!" The third push knocked it free, and Vellen tumbled out of the ducting, the doctor right behind him. They looked up from their heap of tangled limbs at the Shogun's daughter on her throne.
"You,"
she hissed. Vellen immediately doubted his decision. "Greetings," the doctor called as he picked himself up. "What an honour it is, though I do have a bone to pick with you because you asked everyone in Zirkonnos Prime to hunt down my friend. And that's not on. What did he ever do to you?" The Shogun's daughter stood from her throne.
"He refused my hand."
"Okay, other than that?"
"That is enough."
She advanced, the Zirkonon crown still on her head.
"Do you know what this is, stranger?"
"The crown?" The doctor marvelled at how shiny it was. "Technically, it's a repurposed neural transmitter. What's your point?" The Shogun's daughter laughed a petty laugh.
"It has many uses."
She looked straight at the doctor and screwed up her face in concentration. He could feel her pushing at the edges of his mind, but she was no match for him. "I've been in more than my fair share of psychic battles, far more than you, it seems." He touched one finger to his temple, and the Shogun's daughter cried out in pain, casting the crown to the marbled floor. "How about you retract your kill order?" She shook her head as she retreated, knocking over a platter of her sweet treats and tripping over.
"Never. I get what I want."
"Petulance is a bad look, little girl." Vellen didn't like the look on the doctor's face. It seemed darker now, more powerful. Where had his impish new friend gone? Vellen is a good man, and innocent. He should be free to love whoever he wants, not forced into marriage because you say so. The doctor picked up the crown, threw it and caught it, treating it like nothing.
"But I want his skills."
The doctor bent down, now at her eye level. "Then ask nicely. I'm sure he'll help, but on his terms."
"You don't scare me. I am the Shogun's daughter."
Her voice carried. It wouldn't be long until the room was swarming with guards.
"Talk to her."
Vellen rushed forward and grabbed the doctor's arm. He turned and looked at the memory smith. "Can you show her one of my memories?" Without waiting for a response, the doctor put on the crown and took both of them by the hand. He let Vellen in, guiding him in the right direction. The crown did the rest. "I used to travel with my friend, Freya. She was brilliant, but we lived different lives and she wanted to go home. If I'm being brutally honest, I didn't want her to leave. I liked having her around. And I could have lied to her, pretended my ship was off course, never taking her where she wanted to go, any excuse to keep her around for a little longer. But I didn't. I took her home." All three of them saw the moment the doctor and Freya said their goodbyes, outside her house in Denmark, Earth. They all felt the doctor's sadness, but they also felt his happiness, his excitement for her future. The guilt I would have felt if I'd been selfish. I couldn't live with it. I had to do what was right for her. And look at me now. I miss her, but I'm fine. There was no cosmic catastrophe because she went home. I accepted what happened, and I grew. A tear started to roll down the Shogun's daughter's face.
"Is she happy?"
I sincerely hope so. I'll visit her one day, when it's less raw. Vellen turned as guards entered the room, their weapons all pointed at them. But the Shogun's daughter shook her head, so they kept their distance. "Do you think you can grow?" the doctor asked. And for a second, Vellen thought he was asking him. If he had the opportunity, he'd love nothing more. But it was the Shogun's daughter he was speaking to. "You act like your father, but you're more than that. You're your own person, just like Vellen is. I think it's time to step out of the Shogun's shadow. Don't you, Estella?" Vellen gasped. The doctor must have learned it when hacking into their computer. But to utter her name in her presence was surely treason. However, Estella didn't scream or shout like everyone in the room expected her to. She simply nodded, wiping the tear from her face. The doctor pulled her up into a hug. "That's the spirit. Vellen? Group hug? Or is it still too soon? Vellen waited for his fourth eye to show him something horrid. That this was all a trick and that he would be slain in mere moments. But all it showed him was a familiar figure, the one person he wanted to see most. One of the best weapons in your arsenal is always empathy. Show them they can be better and they'll often follow suit, the doctor said. Any chance you could tell everyone to leave Vellen alone? I'll even give you your crown back, despite it really suiting me.
Not my husband, but the court's memory smith. I'll pay you for your time, not demand it.
Estella placed the crown on her head and transmitted a new message, one of peace.
I won't forget today, no matter what.
She was right. Even as she took her final breath, many, many years later, Estella remembered the doctor and Freya's farewell and hoped that, in the end, she had lived up to their example. Later, the doctor patted his TARDIS. Here she is, my beautiful old girl. Vellen nodded.
It's a spectacular shade of blue. I don't think I've seen anything like it before.
The doctor clasped Vellen's shoulder eagerly. I assume I can't tempt you to a trip somewhere?
Travel with you? This is what you do, isn't it? Chaos and fear every time?
The doctor ummed and ahed, but eventually relented. Most of the time, yeah.
Then thanks, but no thanks. I've hated every second of today.
Understood. I'm glad I met you, Vellen.
Doctor, that memory we showed Estella, it changed her. Was it special?
Not in the way you're suggesting. We didn't alter her mind. Perhaps she wanted to change, but needed a push. The doctor opened the TARDIS door. Always be that push.
Before you go, I wanted to repay you for your help, if I may.
The doctor nodded, curious, as Vellen closed his eyes and focused. Within the doctor's mind, colours swirled as an image formed. Reds mixed with blues, creating the purple swirls of an alien sky. Yellow rings and green lines formed flowers that looked half daffodil, half sunflower. Browns and oranges flecked into a path, or was it a beach? And stood in the middle was the doctor, hands on hips, his coat flowing in an invisible breeze, a courageous look upon his face. Amazing, but I don't recall this. Where's it from?
Fragments of what my fourth eye showed me.
The doctor mulled this over. So this is extracts of a possible future? I guess nothing's guaranteed in my line of work. I might have even already closed off one of those parts. What a tease, though. Thank you, Vellen. Have a wonderful life with whoever you choose to share it with. The doctor pulled Vellen into a quick hug before disappearing into his TARDIS and closing the door. Within seconds, the blue box disappeared. Returning to his apartment, Vellen found someone was waiting inside for him.
Oh, my love. I came as soon as I could. I'm so glad you're alive. What happened?
Vellen smiled, for the first time since the ordeal began, and in answer to his beloved's question, a vivid blue streak appeared as he remembered his story. And as the doctor flew off to wherever his ship would take him next, he pictured Vellen's parting gift once more, unable to look away from the shadow his figure cast, and the unsettling feeling that something dangerous lurked within.